12 chats. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're almost good to go. Lisa, you're going to give me a thumbs up when it's recording, or is it recording now?
Looks like
I'm not sure Mary Ellen's looking after that.
Looks like it's recording.
Sorry, guys, it's not streaming just yet. Just give me a few minutes. It just takes a few minutes for it to upload. So it looks like it's starting now. Just.
You give me the 100% when it's ready, and then we'll go.
Okay. Come on. Just.
It's like watching molasses roll down a BC highway. Oh, there's no BC highways anymore. That was my bad. That's pretty rough stuff going on in BC there.
You find your
do.
If we could have everyone mute their microphones if you are not speaking, just so we can eliminate as much feedback as possible, please. Now we're just waiting to ensure the recording is working, and then we're going to get started for the public. So I'm not ignoring anyone, really. I'm just waiting.
My screen indicates the recording is 2 minutes and 45 seconds into it.
Then, Larry, I'd say we're good to go. Mary Ellen, we're going to get going. Larry says he's got a confirmation of recording, so I'm going to believe him. Okay, well, it is November 15th, 2021, and we are going to call the meeting of Turner Valley Town Council to order at 6:34, and we sure hope that the recording is working fully and completely for the public and for the history of this meeting. I'd like to start this meeting with an acknowledgement that we are on the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7, including the Blackfoot Confederacy, members Siksika, Kainai, and Kainai First Nations, the Stoney Nakoda, Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Wesley First Nations, and the Dene of Tsuut'ina Nations and the Métis Region 3. As I said, we're called to order here at 6:34. Can I get an approval of agenda 2.1 for November 15th, 2021 from a councillor, please? And I have Councillor Robb indicating that motion. Can I get a all in favor, hands nice and high? And that is good. Perfect. Thank you. Moving on to confidential closed meeting sessions, we have none. So we will go to 4, adoption of previous minutes. 4.1 is the adoption of the org meeting from November 1st, 2021. Can I get a motion for that, please? Councillor Waring gives a motion. Anybody have any problems with the org chart? Did you review it? Make sure you're in the right spots. All your wishes are granted. I get a thumbs up from Hazel. If Hazel says thumbs up, then you can ensure that it's good. So if I can get an all in favor, hands up nice and high, please. Excellent. Thank you. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. 4.2, adoption of regular council meeting minutes of November 1st, 2021. Can I get an adoption for those draft minutes, please? I'll get Councillor Dixon. Everyone have a little look over those. See anything? Doesn't look like it. All right. All in favor of that, please. Hands nice and high. Thank you, and that is unanimous. Thank you. Question period. We have question period is a 15-minute section of our regular council meeting that we give to the public to ask questions of council or administration for points of clarity or just regular inquiry. We have email, texts, phone calls, however you wish to get it into council or administration will accept it. In this case, we have one tonight from Mr. Jim Lawton, and it is, I've raised this issue last year when we had that major snowstorm, which was December 21st, I remember. However, my concern was not just for when it snowed. The issue is the parking on the east side of Main Street on the north side of town. Any parking on this side, whether it snows or not, creates a pinch point as there's parking on both the west and the east side. Currently, there's an RV parked on the east side, which makes the problem even worse. I think that there should be no long-term parking on the east side of Main Street beyond a stay of 2-hour limit. I believe Councillor Waring sent out a photo showing a 1-hour limit today, but I'm going to go to Mr. Patience, the CAO, for a response on that. Mr. Patience, over to you.
Thanks, Mayor Crane. I did actually have a quick look just to see how that signage worked this afternoon. And really from the fire hall north, we've got signs that say no parking here to corner, which is, I think, maybe a bit elusive. And then we've got parking for deliveries only up to Seclusion Valley. So that's certainly something I'm happy to discuss with Craig and our representatives from Alberta Transportation, and to see if there's maybe some way to minimize those issues on the north end of the highway on Main Street there. Obviously, I don't have a lot of background on that, so I'd lean on my councillor's experience in that area. I haven't seen a lot of issues myself, but I would certainly relent to those that have local experience on that. So if council would like, I'm certainly happy to forward that on to Mr. Beaton and have a conversation about whether he believes there's value in that or not.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions, concerns, comments on that? Waring? Yep, go ahead, Waring.
One of the big problems at the moment is because of the logging operation that's going on. You're getting those things running through town all the time. Since those 1-hour signs went up, the commercial signs, I think, were put up by the Alberta Transport. I don't think the town put those up. But from a personal point of view, I got no problem if we had a 2-hour limit. And I think from the rest of it, it's pretty well covered by the signages, though.
Councillor Gordon, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks. I do thank Mr. Lawton for bringing this forward. It's something I wonder as well if we can have administration look into whether or not it's valuable to restrict overnight parking on certain routes as well. I know we kind of discussed this last year with some vehicles not moving off of the streets in a very hasty manner. So if we could have administration look into that as well, which roads would be better to restrict overnight parking in the winter months so that allows such roads to be cleared a little bit quicker. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Holiday, you have the floor.
Yeah, I feel the same way as John that, I'd be happy with the 2-hour limit, and that would take away overnight because nobody's overnight is more than 2 hours. But just consistency, if we can look at something that's easy so everybody knows along that whole east side. I don't know if there's any way to get it more consistent.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, I think we'll have administration have a look at it then and bring it back at our next meeting with a few thoughts, and we can bash it around from there. How's that sound, everybody? All right, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Lawton, for your question, and we will definitely look into it.
Barry, you need a motion?
Sure, absolutely. Warren, go ahead.
I'll give you that motion to Council directs administration to look into the parking problems on the north side of Main Street and reports back to council, shall we say, the first meeting in January?
John, that would be the east side of Main Street?
East side.
Yeah.
Will that work for you, Sean? First meeting, December?
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. All right, sounds good, Councillor Waring. Council, any comments? Seeing none, and all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on, we have statutory hearings, nil, and then we have delegations. So our first delegation, now before I introduce the delegations, let me just say this. For people that are here on a delegation, if you see councillors doing this or holding a fist or one finger or two fingers up as such, that is how we've been running our meetings. So when I see someone put up four fingers with a thumb tucked in, for example, I will mimic that hand signal, and that is just a silent way of communicating that I've seen you and I've put you in the speaking order. So for example, if you wanted to speak when we have the Dusty and Larry, you'd do the same thing, and when you see my hand go up matching, you know, what it is you have done, then I've acknowledged I got your eye and I'll put you in the queue. So it's just a nice little silent way of acknowledging speaker order. With that being said, first up, we have Mr. Mike King, president of the Gateway Villas, Condos, Compost Bin Complex, along with Randy Hansen. So, Sean, is there any other introduction needed, or shall I give it over to the master of ceremonies, Mike King himself?
I think you can turn it over. I believe everyone saw a copy of Mr. King's email, so I believe you're all familiar with the topic, and welcome, Mr. King.
All
Well,
right.
first of all, I'd like to congratulate council and the mayor on their recent victories. And I can assure Mayor Crane, I've been given the one finger many times. I understand what that is. So to make this quick, my counterpart will do his, Randy Hansen has got all the paperwork. We were just concerned about the size of the bins. We had no problem with the garbage or the recycling. Where we had the problem with composting, and I'll have Randy explain that to you. Anyways, I will turn it over to Randy. We'll make it quick and simple so we don't tie you up. Thanks very much, Randy.
Thank you.
Wait for the hand signal. Hello, everybody tonight that's tuned in. Congratulations again to all the new and returning councillors. With all the issues you're dealing with, I'm sure you don't want to talk about garbage bins that long. Anyway, I hope everyone had a chance to read the email sent to Lisa Brown. The bottom line is that residents of Diamond Valley would like the small size bin for collection of organic waste. As indicated in the email, the size of the black garbage bins is not so much an issue. But there's limited space again, especially if we got 3 large bins, and it's a concern. I understand that $200,000 has been approved by council for the purchase of bins, and $100,000 of that was approved at the October 4th council meeting for the organic waste bins. Now, at this point, has council considered the size of bins to be ordered? And will the residents be able to decline delivery of the bins not wanted? Would somebody like to comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I'm going to go to Mr. Patience to confirm what our ordering of the bin timeline is. I know our very first motion that we made, we've already ordered the black bins. So for Turner Valley, it would be ordering the organic bins. And just on the first glance, Randy, I'd have to agree with you. We only need small bins because my house produces enough to feed 5 chickens across the road. and that can only fit in a small bin. But anyway, let's go to Sean to see where we're at with the ordering process first, and then we'll move on from there. Mr. Patience?
Thank you, Mayor Crane. Mr. Beaton is obviously handling the ordering of those bins, and I will say that we have made allowance for approximately 200 of the 1,100 to be smaller bins for those that wish to have a smaller organic bin. At this point, we are just working on the actual bylaw for council's consideration, and you'll see that probably in January. I will suggest at this point that there has been no option included for an opt-out of any of the bins. Clearly, that would have a significant impact on the rollout of the program. Suffice it to say, there has been a consideration given to those who might want a smaller organic bin. And of course, because they're new programs, it'll take some time for those to contemplate, what those bins will utilize for. I will say that in my previous posting, we did use organic bins, and a lot of the residents utilized them for yard waste in the summer. And often they weren't big enough, even though they were the large size bins. So I think there's probably a learning curve for not only our residents, but probably for our administration and council as well. So we did make the allowance for a portion of that bin order to be a smaller bin. But I will suggest that those that are using it also for garden and lawn waste will certainly probably want the larger bins.
Okay. Thank you. Randy, go ahead. Richard, can you mute, please? Thanks. Go ahead, Randy.
So where do we sign up somewhere for obtaining these smaller bins, or how do we go about that? Or has that been decided yet, Sean?
If I might, Mr. Mayor?
Absolutely.
So like I said, the plan is to roll this program out somewhere in April of 2022. So we're just working out the details, Randy, of how that's all going to fall through, and council has a utility and waste bylaw to review in the interim as well. So those are all details that we're just calculating right now. So there will obviously be a mechanism for those that want the smaller bin, but as of yet, we haven't determined just what that mechanism will be.
Okay, we're going to go to Councillor Dixon, then we'll come back to you, Randy.
If I might, Mr. Mayor, I'm just wondering if Mr. Patience could answer. Has there been any consideration into the potential of sharing bins between households at all? Thanks.
If I might, Mr. Mayor, no, there hasn't been. As I said, when we're dealing with a mass program like this, the administrative challenge in opting out or allowing opting out or sharing is quite significant, and I'm not sure we're set up or Okotoks is set up for that. While Okotoks does allow options for theirs, they haven't allowed opting out, to my knowledge, anyway, Councillor Dixon. So at this point, it's 3 bins per household, and as we move forward, we'll determine the details on how to administrate those bins. And I will remind council, obviously, that this program was just put forward in October through a meeting of JFAC. So we've still got obviously a lot of details to work out.
Thank you.
Indeed, we do. And I think you're going to hear from Councillor Rabb on some of the details that he's going to want to see. Go ahead, Councillor Rabb.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, Mike and Randy, for coming in and making your presentation and for your emails. And I really believe that I'm totally in favor of this program. I think curbside is the way to go, but I don't think one size fits all here. So I would like to ask Sean to continue to work and strive to get it so that it can reach everybody's demands. And I think that there's no reason why we can't make that happen. Obviously, in Sean, like you talk about garden waste, I certainly have enough in the summertime, but if you look at the condos that these two guys represent, they have people to look after their lawn and stuff, so they don't have any yard waste at all. So a small bin might be the best solution for them, and hopefully they can still support that. But I think we need to do some work, and it sounds, Sean, like that's what you and Craig are doing right now. So I appreciate that. And we appreciate your comments, Randy and Mike, and we'll take an advisement and hopefully get something that's going to work for everybody.
Okay, so I've got two in the queue. I've got Hazel, then Councillor Gordon. I'm going to ask Randy for comment first because I wanted to get back to him. And then we're going to go Hazel and Councillor Gordon.
Well, I've only got a couple other comments. So I assume that we'll continue to use the blue bins that we have currently for recycling.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And waste pickup, will that still be on a weekly basis or for all three bins or?
The garbage will remain the same, except garbage will then go into black bin when we get it, and the blue will become the recycling. We haven't worked out the details on how often we're going to be picking up the recycling or the organics. Based on Okotoks's model, we have to look what's going to be tailored for Black Diamond Turner Valley. So that could be slightly different. It could be 2 weeks for compost, but you always want to check it out with the smell and so on. So those are being looked into as well on the timelines. Sean, do you have anything preliminary that you guys were going to present in timelines?
Yeah, well, yeah, we actually do have, but I don't want to put it out just yet in a public forum.
Okay.
I will suggest though that, yeah, we are looking at all those, and we're certainly going to give, we're going to try and give at least 3 months notice in advance of the rollout of this program. And Okotoks is already committed to working with us to do a PR campaign for our residents, not just of Turner Valley, but Black Diamond as well. So we'll make sure everyone is well informed of the process and the collection days, etc. So Okotoks has a very well working model right now, and we're certainly going to emulate and steal from it what we can that has been successful from their perspective.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Councillor Martin and then Councillor Gordon, and we'll come back to you, Randy.
Thank you, Mayor Crane. My comment was just going to be regarding the pickup of the organics. Is it going to be seasonally? But as Sean has said, is that those details are just being worked out.
Okay, thank you for comment. Councillor
Thank
Gordon.
you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Randy and Mike, for presenting. I'm sure there's more in town that have these similar concerns. So question I have as we have administration looking into the details, what option are we looking at for what size of bin potentially? I know there was some concern when we first discussed this that the machine and having a different size of bin could cause a little bit of issue when it comes around to picking it up because the manner in which the arm works on the larger size bin. So what the first question then is, what would the smaller bin be? And then secondly is, could we have people pre-order so that we make sure that we have the right number on hand? Just wondering if that's going to be too much work on administration part.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will say this, you're getting into the details of a program that you just put into administration only a few weeks ago. So I would ask you to be patient and allow us to put the program together. And obviously we'll share it as quickly as we can. I would have had Mr. Beaton here tonight to share with us. However, he had a holiday booked for this week. So unfortunately, you're left with me to answer the questions. I will suggest, I do know that he has ordered 200 of the smaller bins. And we're working on a process to make application for those. And if we need to order extras, that's certainly fine. I think we're well prepared to be able to adjust as we roll out this program. And like I said, we're working with Paul at Okotoks, who is well versed in this. We're very confident in our ability to utilize the bin sizes that are going to work for the truck. And to put on a program that we think will be successful. So once we have everything ironed out, council will be the first to hear, and I'll be more than happy to share those details. And like I said, we're implementing them, or we're putting them forward in terms of a bylaw as we speak, and our plan is for January for council to be reviewing that. So we'll have those details soon enough.
Okay, thank you. Follow up, Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, just quick follow-up, Mr. Patience, if I may, through the mayor. Do you know, when you say smaller size bin, have you decided a liter size? Is because there's 3 different sizes, my understanding is. So that may be in the details, and I may need to be patient, but I understand.
I just don't want you to quote me on it. I believe that we're dealing with, I think, 220 and 120 liter bins, but please don't quote me. But that's coming to the top of my mind. But again, we'll share those details. And I know Mr. Beaton could roll them out off the top of his head. So, yeah, like I said, we'll certainly be providing council with an update on that program very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Patience. I know that Okotoks does have 3 different size bins, and their equipment is geared to satisfy the needs of those 3 different sizes. And of course, us using their equipment and the program, obviously, I think we're in well hands there. 200 small bins, I would think, myself, just commenting, I think is a little light. I think there'll be more people wanting the smaller compost bins. So it might be something to look into for sure. And I definitely think that the condos would be first on the list for small bins, if anyone. So we should probably start looking at the priorities when it comes to those things. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up tonight regarding the small bins as we roll into the program and start to acknowledge what needs are out there is, I think, the fixed income seniors, we need to really look at that as well and keep to the small bins and find a rebate program possibly moving forward for certain individuals. So anyway, all things that are just, have been commented on, and I think we have a conversation to have in the future. I'm going to go back to Randy for your other inquiry.
No, I don't have any other issues or inquiries, Barry. Thanks again for your time and consideration. So I'm okay.
Well, I hope we answered a few questions and planted just enough seeds so that you can come back and get the answers that you're really looking for. So,
Appreciate
perfect.
it.
Give us a little time and we'll have some more details for you here. 3 months prior to rollout, we're going to have a full public information campaign. So, yeah, lots more to follow. All right. Appreciate it, Randy. Mike, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank
and
you.
we'll see you guys again later. Take care. All right, so let me just have a quick gander over here. Not needing any motion from that. Straightforward. Good. 7.2, Diamond Valley Sustainable Living Center, the DVSLC. We have the delegation here of Mr. Larry Kapuska, Mr. Dusty Williams, and another Larry in the background, I see. All right.
Well, thank you very
Larry
much.
Kapuska, I'm going to let you take the helm, and you can guide us through your presentation.
And I'm going to try to share my screen at this point.
All right. Someone will allow you that ability, I'm sure. Have we got you linked in, Larry?
I don't know. Are you seeing any screen?
Not yet, no. Lisa, can you confirm you've got Larry linked in to share screen? Or Marianne, whoever's in charge of that. I think Lisa would be.
Well, while that's taking place, let me also congratulate all of you for being elected and have a good ride as you go forward. This is going to be an exciting time for all of you. So as we're getting started here, I did send out a draft of the presentation. So if we don't get the screen up, you'll be able to follow along most of it anyway from the materials you received. So let me proceed with that option rather than wait. The Diamond Valley Sustainable Living Center was recognized by the state under the Corporates Act as a private nonprofit organization. The directors are myself as chair, Larry Ashmore, vice chair, Les Quinton, treasurer, Jackie Blight, secretary, Dusty Williams is a director at large, and Susan Christofferson is a director at large. We have a website and an information email that you're able to access. We got organized. Our mission statement is to nurture a community that lives an environmentally regenerative and socially just lifestyle by providing our needs to the extent possible within our local area. Our vision then is to live sustainably. There are many aspects of this that were exposed during the COVID pandemic, and we were hoping to address some of these through our initiatives. We've identified 5 basic initiatives. Perhaps front and center is we want to focus on educational opportunities and apprenticeships. But within the areas of security, we're emphasizing food security, water security, and energy security. And I'll have more to say about each of those. And the last one kind of dovetails with the discussion you were just having on the responsible use, reuse, and upcycling of resources. Within the education and apprenticeship realm, we're looking to design workshops to build sustainability skills for all ages, from children on through adult groups. We want to focus on each element of those core security themes, namely food, energy, and water. And finally, we want to use these as a way to foster a spirit of community among our members and the public at large. Within food security, we've already launched, largely through the efforts of Rob McWilliam, one of our members, an effort to gather, distribute, and process unwanted fruits and vegetables in our local area. Last year, I worked with a sustainability group in their capstone educational course with the University of British Columbia, and they drafted a template for us on how to implement this kind of a gleaning effort for the Diamond Valley. And we're hoping to be able to implement this in a serious way in the next season. We're also working on a number of options that would allow folks to grow foods indoors across all 4 seasons. We have vertical towers that are either with soil or with aeroponics, and these produce vegetables that can be used in households, even in small apartment complexes. One of our bigger ticket items is that we hope to work with the Oilfields High School and perhaps with groups such as Sprung to build a greenhouse adjacent to the high school that would allow students there to participate in developing food resources. This would offer many opportunities for the students to gain educational experience in a real-world activity in which they would be not only understanding how to grow foods, but be able to use their produce to supplement their cafeteria, their commissary, perhaps use excess foods that they generate to help with our food bank system. And ultimately, we hope this could be something that could be done on an annual basis all year round. And finally, in this realm of food security, largely identified through the food chain crises that erupted during the pandemic, we hope to be instrumental in creating partnerships with local farmers and ranchers, something along the lines of the CSA programs that have been popular for many years now, to provide local food sources and a secure supply. We have, over the last year, generated a number of prototypes. One of these is develop a solar oven which could be used to cook products using just the sun's energy and therefore contribute to the energy security aspect. And very similarly, a solar dehydrator that members could process their excess fruits and vegetables and preserve them for later use. The water security arena is becoming increasingly important here in southern Alberta. Projections are that over the next 2 or 3 decades, we're going to be in severe water crisis mode quite often. And so one of the objectives of our water security initiative is to increase the installation of water capture and reuse systems for homes and businesses. And in some cases, this may require some modifications of bylaws that are on the books to make this a reality. We are also cycling back to the educational component, wanting to develop modules that will promote efficient water use practices. And all of you probably know that this is one of the prime interests of Dusty Williams. I'll have him comment after I finish going through this. The third energy security arena is dealing with, the third security arena is dealing with energy. We hope to develop one or more local distribution energy systems. These could be charging stations for bicycles and electric vehicles, and basically to complement some of the already planned business opportunities that are going forward. We hope to search for potential sites to construct earth-sheltered homes and storage facilities, and finally then to promote various new energy sources and cogeneration opportunities for towns and businesses. In the area of upcycling resources, we have constructed a shredding machine that can be used to convert plastics into pelleted bits of plastic. These can then go into an extruder, and the extruder generates a filament that can be used as a feedstock for 3D printers to make various parts. The other opportunity here is to take those pellets and run them through a mold to create various kinds of products. We have a range of products that have been developed, and you can't see them apparently right now, but in terms of going forward, we hope to grow awareness of these initiatives within the community by having a storefront facility. We're looking for space for educational workshops where we could have drop-in guidance opportunities, sales of repurposed, upcycled, sustainable products. And we want to have a light industrial space where we could house the shredder, workshop space for such things as repair cafe and a maker space. All of these are doable. We are just in the early stages of implementation. And let me now turn it over to Dusty to fill in any other comments he may have.
Okay, thank you. Dusty, the floor is yours. And if you can just mute Larry, that'd be great.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, congratulations to you and council members for your election. Water conservation is big. It's been on the top of my mind for many years. The sheer amount of rainwater that we can capture in the two towns is staggering. It's in the neighborhood of 23.5 million gallons a year. And that's 23.5 million gallons that does not have to be treated. Most of that is for watering your trees, your shrubs, and whatnot. The ideal circumstance is that water now is allowed to percolate through the top 8 inches of soil and down finally into the water table. That keeps the water into our hydrological cycle, very important. if we're letting the water run out into the streets, the gutters, and down into the storm drains, then we're hauling a lot of non-point pollution with it. This way we can avoid it. At some point here in the near future, we're also working on a program to look into implementation of gray water systems. That need is going to become extremely prevalent. It's going to be very important. So we're working on that in the background as well, and that will help us to ease a lot of stress onto our water system in both towns. In regards to the plastic, we have built the shredder. I've spent the past 2 days shredding number 1 and number 7 plastics and a little bit of HDPE, which is a number 2. We have designs of more machines to extrude. I have an extruder as well that we're putting together right now, and a larger extruder for larger HDPE product. It requires a higher heat and stuff. We can build items similar to 1x4s or 2x4s or any configuration like that. There's also a machine that's a flat press. The flat press will allow us to collect plastic bags, which is probably the biggest evil of plastic because they go everywhere. Mm-hmm. And we can create sheets of plastic, and plastic now can be marketed as a crafts product or whatever. So we're going to be able to take a fair amount of plastic out of the existing recycle system and put it to good use. We also have a 3D printer, so we're in it. You saw a picture there of the items that I've already printed. So we will be able to offer services to people for items that they break, parts of their blenders, dials off of their ovens, for the burners. We can create, if we can find the file, we can create it. The 3D printing has a very big perspective. We won't be just able to print plastic, but we will be able to pick up machines that will print glass. It's called glass sintering, print metal, print cardboard, print paper, print pretty much everything that we consider as a waste product. The waste products would be better repurposed here rather than paying to dispose of it in a not so healthy manner. Yeah, because it's not going where it should be. The other one is glass. Glass is a big problem where it's costing us to truck it into Okotoks or the city or wherever we're taking it now. I haven't been involved in the system for a few years now. Glass, we should have nothing that's glass leaving these two towns at all. We will crush the glass, and we can crush it to certain sizes, whether it be 1/4 inch or down as fine as sand, which basically is where it came from in the first place. So it's a pretty full cycle. These products can be used under parking lots as an amendment to gravel. It's inert. It doesn't hurt anything. It can also be used in deep services. It can be used underneath the sewers and water mains and whatnot. The ideal part about the gravel or the glass is that it hooks together because of the sharp edges and makes it very stable. So we'll probably have enough glass to look after our needs when we start replacing sewer lines and stuff, or if we opt into a purple pipe program, which is going to have to happen pretty soon. What else do we have there? So we can create an environment here with at least 100 or 200 printers of various different applications, and also teach people through our classrooms and stuff in the makerspace to actually run their own businesses here. So we'll be creating a lot more permanent full-time green jobs and entrepreneurs, so that this builds on itself and we create a community that's wholly self-sustainable. So we won't need to rely on external resources. That's the big one. This makes us really, really resilient, and it's very important. Things are going to start happening in the market, shortages and many other things. If we can create our own food, take care of our own water, and know how to function with it, then we will all be better off.
Okay.
Thank you, Dusty. This is our intent here, was to introduce you to this effort that we've launched and to respond to any questions you may have.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. All right, Council, open up the floor to you. Any questions around the presentation? Councillor Waring, then Councillor Gordon.
I read through your presentation, obviously, before the council meeting tonight, and made sure my wife read it as well, because I found it to be very impressive and full of a lot of really interesting things moving forward. And I just wish you every success with this. And I trust when the time is right that you're able to come to council to see what, if anything, we can do to assist you. So thank you very much. And I really appreciated your presentation.
Thank you, Councillor Waring.
Thank you.
Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming to council and presenting this. On a side note, I'm doing my best with the grayness here. So I've got a bit of a ways to go to catch up though. But, I'm figuring maybe I could always put John Waring ahead. He's got the gray up and down, right? So that's perfect. But I must say, this is the first year this last summer that I did the water catchment in our home here. And the amount of money that it actually saved us for the trees and the shrubs and some of our lawn as well, remarkable. And so it's good to know how that works through. One question I do have, you're talking about being able to shred the plastics, to grind the glass and use it in different manners there. What do you foresee as kind of a facility that you might need? Are you way too early in the preliminary stages, or have you even considered that already?
Larry?
Well, I'll let Dusty speak to that since he's more on the technical side. But we have looked at the recycling facility that is in Turner Valley. And if that were to become available, that might be an ideal place. Dusty can describe some of the requirements that we would have.
Sure. Dusty, why don't you hit us up with your needs and your wants?
Sure. The building would actually be perfect for us. One, we know it. Two, it has three-phase power. That's very important to us. Shredders have a bit of a demand. And that building is fully wired for a three-phase. There's five balers in there. And it's all really top of the line cable and whatnot. So it would apply to us very readily. The space is there. That would allow us to build the 12 or more stations that we need in there. And we can just pick from the three-phase lines that are throughout the building. So we can tap the machines, just locate the machines where they'll work. We will have a woodworking section. We will have a welding section. We will have an electronics section, textiles, and a few others. I actually have a list of about 23 in a spreadsheet already, if anybody wants to take a look at it.
Too good. Councillor Gordon, follow up.
Yeah, quick follow up, Dusty. It sounds like you've got a lot of homework done. Looking ahead now, I know that's a nice wish list to be able to get access to the recycle center. What's your funding model, Dusty, so that there's zero cost, if you will, to make sure that this runs properly?
That was going to be one of my questions as well. What government grant opportunities, as I know you guys are keeners and you've been looking into this, so maybe you could fill us in on what you've come across from the green perspectives, what the Liberals have in place. Everything is going green, and this falls into that court. So, what have you guys discovered thus far, as well?
Well, so far we've been funding this internally. we do intend to go after some of the educational opportunities. We think that's one of the quickest entry points because the material that we need is in our respective heads. We don't need to purchase items to get that going. And we have some background in educational opportunities in the past. So that's one answer. The other is that these recycled and upcycled plastic materials are products that can be sold immediately. And Dusty has already aligned us with Precious Plastics, which is basically a consortium that helps organizations like this reach various markets. So it's really a matter of a few months of getting set up and then having a revenue stream coming from some of those products.
Excellent. I'm going to follow up, Gordon, if you don't mind. So that kind of flows into the previous question or conversation we had around our curbside recycling program and whatnot. So I'm assuming that you would want to actually capture our local plastics. Would that be accurate? Like what would you want to capture from our local markets in order to help build the base that you would require?
Well, you absolutely nailed it. We would like the plastics that we could use. We would also consider the compostable materials. We've got some of the connections. Dusty has been working with the Oilfields High School. There's a group of very ambitious students there that are just raring to get involved in this kind of stuff. And there's no reason that there isn't an opportunity to make compostable material there as an educational component for the students. Not only do they have the opportunity to look at the technical aspect of that, but they would be in a position then to start learning some of the business skills that are associated with marketing and communications and all of those things that are interlaced into this sustainability movement.
Okay, Dusty, you have the floor.
We've been working with the high school for 3 years now in teaching them how to live sustainably. And they've created 2 projects. One is a full circle food production. They've created their own gardens. We have water conservation there to save the rainwater. The rainwater is used to water the gardens. The pump is a 12-volt DC pump, which is run by a solar panel. We put all that together for them. And the students, as soon as they figured out that this is something they were going to approach, had gone in and spoke with the commissary and said, if we grow this food, will we use it in the commissary? They said yes immediately. And now we're looking at a compost area for the spring, and the students create this stuff. They build everything. It's just amazing to watch. I just like my time there. It's so satisfying. So the compost material comes out of the commissary, goes into the compost, and then they put it back on their garden. They also take part every year now in our repair cafes. They man the doors, they help inside, they create products. Now they want to take part in the maker space as well, and they want to volunteer there. There's also one of the students right now on the sustainability committee at Black Diamond, which I'm sure will combine at a future date here. He's leaving. He's finished school here this next term. And I've just been speaking with the resources teacher at Oilfields, Mrs. Watts. And we've already pinpointed the next student to fill in that position on the sustainability committee. That's a neat process to watch, and they actually take part in the committees. When the students went for funding for the compost area and the fencing and whatnot, they applied at a couple of different places, and I had the privilege of sitting there watching these students perform. I didn't know they were going to come, but I was impressed. These kids get it. So keeping working with them and having them in this equation is particularly important, and they're really happy about being asked to. So.
Excellent. All right. Council, further questions? Councillor Dixon. Sorry, you did put up your hand earlier.
Very good. First of all, if I may, Mr. Mayor, Larry and Dusty, thank you very much for this presentation. This is a fantastic project that you've got going on here. I'm just wondering if you'd be prepared to share with us what you're currently using for facility. You're obviously doing a lot of work, so are you doing this out of your garage currently, or do you have a space that you're currently using? If you wouldn't mind sharing that with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Curtis.
For the most part, it's been Dusty's shop. Larry Ashmore has been working at his shop, and I'm using part of a sea can to store things that we'll need at a future time. So yes, we're saving our pennies in that fashion until we get ready to move forward.
Follow up, Curtis, go ahead.
And as a follow-up, I'm just wondering, have you approached any businesses locally about potentially supplying you with any products for the current work that you're doing? Thank you.
I don't believe we have. Have you done any of that, Dusty?
Not in the way of products, but I'll tell you, we sure get a lot of requests. What we're doing is already out there in the public realm. So I get asked all the time, can I bring my plastics over? Can I? I see this as working. Yes. We haven't asked for anything from local businesses as yet, but anybody I know that has local businesses here are pretty excited about the initiative. So, and as far as out trying to get another place, we've already, I think I looked at about 23 different places.
And so if I may, a quick follow-up. So if there's
yes.
businesses out there or individuals out there that want to supply or participate, they can contact you directly then, can they? Or
sure. They can connect with me through Facebook. That's the quickest, through Messenger. At Sustainable Life or DVSLC through the email there. And yeah, for sure.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Let me just close this out. Okay. All right, gentlemen. Well, seeing we have commenters coming out of the wazoo. Okay, Cindy first, then Sean.
I was just going to tell you that Sean wanted his hands up. I did want to say thank you to Dusty and Larry. I'm actually interested in your gardening surplus stuff because I had so much Swiss chard this year. I just there's no way I could get my kids to eat anymore. So would have loved to have someone to give it to.
At least it wasn't zucchini, huh?
Zucchini loaf for everybody. Go ahead, Sean. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks, gentlemen. I appreciate the presentation and the vision, actually. So I actually believe, if I remember speaking with our community service director, that I believe our FCSS actually has contributed some funds to that high school environmental project, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So I don't mean this question to be derogatory, so please don't take it that way. But I know, having dealt with some recycled products in the past, that the markets are very volatile from time to time, and cardboard's up, cardboard's down, plastics up, plastics down. I just wonder, Dusty or Larry, have you done any business case modeling for any of this stuff? It's not that I don't appreciate the vision, but I'm just wondering, because it is a very sort of new model, and of course the world's obviously going that way, but I know there's still challenges in terms of trying to put successful business models together. So I thought I would just throw that out.
Okay, thank you, Sean. We
have not done a formal business model yet. We have people in place to work on that, some of our members. A lot of what we've been doing this past year is getting ourselves organized, getting the vision down, and be ready to move when we're a little bit more mature. And the things that Dusty and Larry Ashmore have been doing with the different products that they've developed so far, form the basis for where we will go with that. And I kind of recycling back to one of the earlier questions. There is a program that we've subscribed to that's called Grant Advance, and that allows us to search multiple potential funding groups, many who don't even have a presence on an email on a website. So we're just, it's one of those catch-22s. If you fire off too soon, you lose those opportunities down the road. So we want to make sure we're prepared before we launch into some of those things. But a great question.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, go ahead, Dusty.
In regards to projects that are already in place, there are a number of projects around the world utilizing plastic already for 3D and a number of other things. Cardboard is shredded and it's used for animal bedding and a number of other things. There are a considerable amount of projects that are already proven and long-term. If you take a look at the website Precious Plastics, that'll give you just a glimpse of what's happening out there for plastics.
Thanks, Dusty. I appreciate it. And Larry.
Could you repeat the name of that website, Dusty, please?
Precious Plastics. It's an open source nonprofit and it's international, and we're on their pages. So henceforth, the requests every week.
Excellent. Hazel, go ahead.
I just really want to say thank you to both of these gentlemen for bringing this initiative forward. I think it's wonderful. Love to see it in our community. And do you think that there would be at any point in time of any employment opportunities?
Most definitely there will be employment opportunities and in various phases of this.
Excellent.
The other option is that we will be helping people to develop their own businesses. So we will be teaching them and mentoring them. So we're in fact creating a whole new local market for jobs and full-time jobs and small businesses. That's the key to self-sufficiency.
So like your cottage industry type thing, Dusty?
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
the spin-offs.
Yes. So just the 3D printing alone, we'd like to see at least 100 different printers here. So there would be a half a dozen or a dozen people printing plastic, equally so for sintering glass, equally so for metal, cardboard, paper. Most of those materials that are in the recycle center now, we can find a use for. The big one is glass. We can crush that right away and start using it right away. We already have 2 pilot programs in the background ready to go.
Nice.
And with your plastic program that you have, is there a big market for that right now to do the printing and stuff like that, Dusty?
Oh, it's huge. 3D printing is worldwide and it's big and it's catching on fast. What's happening is we're going to migrate from a vertically integrated system to a laterally distributed one. And that means there will be nothing but small businesses. So yes, to answer the question.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Dusty. We're going to go to Councillor Rob.
Thank you very much, Dusty and Larry, for your presentation. I'd never heard of the Diamond Valley Sustainable Living Center before, and I learned quite a bit this evening, and I have a biology background, so I can appreciate what sustainability is all about and the environment. I do have the water totes in my yard and certainly have made use of that many times, but I think you guys are on the right track, and I'm sure we're going to hear from you again, and hopefully, as Councillor Waring said before, we can figure a way to support you, and in your endeavors to help our environment. So thank you very much, guys.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rapp. All right, any last comments before I close her up? Well, I think this is a great way to get ahead of the game here, Dusty, Larry. Great presentation. We definitely see value in partnership in Turner Valley. Collaboration is the name of the game with municipal politics. So having organizations like yourselves who are well situated, educated, and ready to take the bull by the horns. It's exactly some of the things that we like to see from a municipal perspective, and always like to partner with those types of individuals. So we look forward to any future opportunities that we might have down the chain here. And we definitely want to have you keep us in the loop. And as well, congratulations on the school initiative. I know it's been a great success. The Foothills Lions Club has been a big contributor as well, and has pulled many volunteer hours from those young individuals as well, who seem to be, just like you say, go-getters. So it's great to see enthusiasm in young people, and it's great to see that you have engaged the youth to start really building upon this model, which, as we know, the future very well could be dependent on, and Canada in general. We don't know what the future holds, but we do know that this has great value. So we look forward to hearing from you again in the months to come. And all the best.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you all.
Okay. And with that, guys, you can stay for the meeting and watch the excitement, or you can sign out, and we're fine with that too. See you, Mr. Ashmore. Okay, guys. Thank you. All right, Council. That is it for delegations. So refreshing to have delegations, I must say. It's been the first 2 delegations in quite a long time. It's just good to see things going on in the community and people being engaged. So let's move on to 8.1, Chief Administrative Officer's Report, a verbal. Mr. Patience, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a whole bunch tonight because it seems like we've seen each other a great deal lately, but I do want to bring you up to speed on just a few things. Obviously, I already filled you in that our Public Works foreman is off this week. So I have gotten a couple of comments, 2 in fact, on the organic recycling program, both just suggesting that they do this on their own and that they weren't happy with the additional costs. I thought I would pass those on to be fair to those residents that have supplied those to me. I have had as well numerous requests for information on the recently announced FAR land sale. So I'm working on, and I know Mayor Crane is familiar with some of these. So I'm working on responding to questions as quickly as I can. In that same vein, obviously you have the very first piece of that on your agenda later this evening, which is first reading of the removal of the municipal reserve designation on that property. And I know you're looking and have been waiting for a couple of other things. So I wanted to report on it that Richard is currently just completing review of the leak detection reports and has just filed an asset management report. And just before I left the office this evening, suggested that he has now got completed numbers on Sunset Project. So you'll be seeing all of those shortly, all right? I didn't want to bring them without having consultation with Richard, who was working from home today. I did also receive a notification from Dave Marks from the Orphan Well Association, who, as you all know, are working on that well right behind the town office on the northwest corner of the municipality. And he is suggesting to me that they are going to stop that work for the time being. That the conditions of the well bore aren't suitable for the service rig that they had originally planned to utilize in the decommissioning. There's no threat, there's no safety issue, but it looks like they're going to be delayed in completing that till spring or early summer of 2022. So if you see those rigs pulling out of there, it's not that they're complete, but they've run into a few issues. And he wanted me to be sure to let you know that they'll keep us updated and that there's no safety challenge with that particular abandoned well. And then I have two items that are council oriented. And I don't even know if I want to hatch this egg or not. There was some discussion about going back to in-person meetings. And of course, I've already sent council my own thoughts on that. I do want to, and I have reminded you, obviously, that we had a resolution on the books from September 7th. So if council is fine continuing virtually, that's fine. If not, I just wanted to remind you that had been a conversation. And lastly, and not leastly, Ms. Middleton had sent out a doodle poll to council last week, and we are trying very avidly to be able to book in budget meetings to get an interim budget passed before the 20th of September. And in an election year, this is always a challenge. We would normally start this process in September. Now we've had it all pushed back. The doodle poll was not nearly as successful as we had hoped. In fact, we have 2 nights where I have 6 councillors, 1 night that I have 5, and no nights that I have all 7, which is a problem. So I want to ask council. There was a date we didn't put in there. Is the evening of December 2nd a possibility? And I noticed Mayor Crane and Councillor Rob that you have a lot of no's starting sort of at the end of November. Does that tell me you're actually away during that time frame so that we can work around it? We really don't want to pass a budget, especially with 2 new council members, without at least 5 or 6 council members present.
Sean, did you say in the evening?
Yes.
Because we got struck in the afternoon.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Evening's good for me, December 2nd.
Right.
I see Jonathan Gordon said same. Cindy's thumbs up. So is Waring and Curtis and Hazel. Rab, there you go. See how hard that was to get us all in one room at the same time, Sean? All you had to do was say the date and the time.
Well, sadly enough, we're going to need at least 3 nights. So I'm going to... We will.
Don't push your luck.
Well, I haven't, but I would at least like the last night to have all council members there, just so that we can go through after the manager's presentations, after our finance GPAC meeting, which will take the first 2 nights, so that all council's there to kind of go through the adjustments to the operation and capital budgets, so that we can put them on your agenda for December 20th. And then obviously we'll probably be looking at some tweaks in the spring, obviously subject to the decision by the minister on amalgamation. So thank you for that. That gives me a little bit of a lead up. Obviously we'll have to do 1 or 2 of these without full attendance. But if we can get you all there for December 2nd, we would hopefully have those 2 budgets in front of you to put forward to council.
Okay.
That's
you
all
can book us. Yeah. So I got Councillor Rab up, and then I got Councillor Waring. But if you could have a confirmation calendar event sent out to all the council for the 2nd, we've confirmed that right now. So send it with our times. And then I'm going to go Councillor Waring first, and then you, Waring.
Yeah,
Rob first.
Yeah, but I'm gone from the 20th of December till the end of the year. So that final meeting I won't be attending. That's just a way of linking in from New York. Okay.
Councillor Rob.
Yeah, I have. Sorry, Sean, but I'm available some days at the end of November. But the 23rd, I have West End evening meeting. The 25th, I have Community Futures evening meeting. And on the 29th, I got a medical appointment in Calgary in the afternoon. But the other days I'm available, 22, 24, 26, 30. I just can't do those 3 days. And they were committed long before the doodle poll came out.
No, did you say you were available the 30th?
I can do the 30th, definitely.
I can't 100%. I got West End CAO review and general meeting where we're welcoming the 4 new members. So that's a definite no for me in the evening.
We haven't got West End that night.
West Wind, you probably meant. You meant West Winds, did you? To Barry?
West Wind, sorry, yes.
Yeah, West End's the 23rd. The 24th is open for me too, Sean. The 26th. 22, 24, 26 could all work.
Okay, right at this point, it looks like, based on what I'm seeing, it looks like it will be probably November 24th, 25th, and December 2nd, but I will confirm those with you in the morning with times. I'll be meeting with Corinne and Lisa in the morning.
IEDC on the 25th.
Pardon me?
We've got IEDC on the evening of the 25th.
And I got Community Futures the 25th.
And I believe
24th is good though.
I believe FCSS is the 25th as well, or tentatively.
24 is good.
Now, isn't it?
And I'm no good for the 26th.
Only one of you marked no on the 25th evening, just so you know.
Was that me?
There'll be two people at IEDC.
Yeah. Councillor Rob, yes.
Yes.
My apologies, the FCSS one just came up yesterday.
I have 22 and 24 can work for me.
Okay,
22,
so
24, 26, any one of those 3 days. If that helps you.
I could do the same 3 days.
Okay, did we not all answer this on the doodle?
We did,
they did.
but we weren't scrambling as hard.
But since the doodle, if I may interject, the
Yes.
IEDC meeting was just added because the members at large couldn't meet earlier this month. So they asked that to be switched to the 25th. So apologies on that.
Okay, so 25th, that's where that comes in. So you'd have two out.
22, 24, 26, 30.
So I'm going to just throw it out there. Wednesday the
December 2's good.
24th. Who can't make that work? Jonathan?
I have Fresk,
At what time?
7.
And yeah, okay, because then we got 4 o'clock. Everyone's working, yada yada yada. Okay, Tuesday the 23rd.
I can't work.
We got West End.
West End, John and I got West End.
That's at night.
Yep.
6 o'clock. Normally it's early, but there's not,
Right.
these meetings now are screwing us up.
So Sean, just take the next 2 closest best dates and send that back to council to see if people can move some of their items.
Okay.
And let's see where the email stream lands us. And maybe it can be done, maybe it can't, but
Yeah.
we'll have to play with it.
Yeah,
Right
okay.
now we've got December 2nd. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
go ahead, Mary.
Gary, West
Yes.
End was always at 2 o'clock. And we only moved it to the evening because of that one person that couldn't make daytime meetings. He's not on West End anymore.
I know, that's what I'm saying. We got to
So
change
there's no
that
reason
back.
why
But
we
for this
couldn't ask
meeting, we're
to move it till 2.
we can't change it for this meeting. We can for the next one, John, but that won't help Sean right now in his deliberation.
Okay.
We have an afternoon meeting, which we don't want to do again. There were two people actually.
Okay. Okay. I thank you for that. I'll throw something out. Those were the dates that I had either 5 or 6. So we'll do our best to make it work and get as many of you there as we can. I guess that's all.
Just let me go to Councillor Gordon right quick. He just wants to clarify.
Yeah, just when we first were talking about this, it was thrown out that we might do one of the sessions an all-day session. Is that no longer an option?
We did not get much positive feedback on the all-day sessions.
Okay.
Yeah, that was why we threw out the doodle poll just to see what we could hit. But 3s and 4s at the maximum during the day. Otherwise, we could clear up 2 evening meetings by doing one day one, which would be probably preferable for everybody. So we'll see if we can make the best out of this. And as my old EDO used to say, we're making soup. So we'll see what we can come up with. Thank you for entertaining me. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Council, comments or follow-up questions to CAO's report? And seeing none.
In council meeting,
Pardon me?
do we want to talk about going back to in-chamber meetings, or are we all happy to stay?
Oh, yeah, that was he led off with that, so we can definitely talk about that. So again, it's back to the COVID protocols, but we can definitely look at moving into the chambers, I think. Mr. Patience, what did the fire chief say for occupancy regarding chambers right now?
Well, with no tables, chairs, or desks in there, 22 maximum. But of course, we have those. So I got to think we're probably in the neighborhood of 12 to 13, 14, probably maximum. And one of the challenges we're facing as we move forward is it looks like, depending on council's consideration of the bylaw we have before you tonight, it would be the first of potentially several public hearings that we'll have moving forward. So I was speaking with my counterpart Charlene today in Black Diamond, and having several discussions with Lisa in terms of how we could make that work on a virtual basis or even on an in-person basis. So yeah, so challenges, that's all. So I just didn't want that conversation to go by, and I hadn't reminded council that had been brought up earlier. And honestly, I don't know that a whole lot has changed in terms of provincial guidelines or OH&S requirements. So anyway, I just wanted to remind you, that was it.
Okay, so I understand holding a public open house is definitely going to be a challenge, but I think that just goes with COVID, that there's challenges everywhere. I'm going to go to Curtis first, and then I'll come back. Go ahead, Curtis.
Yeah, I just want to be a little bit cautious here. watching some events unfolding in some other provinces in relation to COVID, and I'd hate to jump back into going offline, if you will, if we can refer to it that way, and then have to come back again, 2-3 weeks down the road. Alberta's already sort of jumped the gun last summer, so I just want to be cautious as we're reviewing this. So thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah, my preference is to be in chambers, especially during budget talks, if at all possible. That's where I sit on it. So I don't know what other councillors feel or what everyone's comfortable with, but I would really like finance or the budget meetings to be in person.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gordon, you had the floor.
Yeah, I have to support Councillor Holiday on this one. Having the in-person meetings for budget time, and even for other specific important committees as we're looking ahead, our finance and governance as we join that committee, those types of discussions, the value of being together in a room, super beneficial. With the handful of administration that can present to us, we can discuss, we can get questions going. I think it'd be a benefit as well for our newer councillors, for Councillor Martin and Councillor Dixon. There's so much, I fear that we'd miss too much, to be honest. And I would like to be together in a room for those meetings.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. I'm going to go back to Councillor Waring here. He was just waving. Go ahead. You had the floor, Waring.
Yeah, I'm prepared to make a motion that we move back into chambers for the upcoming meetings to be reviewed, maybe in the second meeting of January or something, because I'm like Cindy and like Jonathan. I like to sit in the room with people when we're negotiating and discussing and debating something. It will still be streamed to the public. There'll just be the 7 of us plus whoever comes into the meeting, Sean and Lisa and whatever. So, and if the managers are coming in to present, they're not all going to be in at the same time. So I personally believe we can do this sensibly in chambers. The public won't be in chambers, but we'll be streaming the meetings when it's not in camera. So my motion would be to go back into in camera in chamber meetings.
Okay. Just before I open debate on that, Mr. Patience, would the way forward to accomplish this, would it be rescinding the previous motion?
No.
Okay, good. That was an easy answer. Would making the motion that Councillor Waring has spoken to put us back in chambers at our December 2nd meeting?
December 6th meeting, your regular council meeting? Is that what you're? Oh,
No,
we're
but
talking about budget,
December
finance
2nd.
committees.
We'd be
So-
starting December 2nd.
So your previous motion was that we would meet, all meetings would be virtual council committees and council until further notice. So you can provide further notice and not have to rescind the motion, which is fine. I would like some clarity. Are you talking about just finance committee meetings? Are you talking about council meetings as well?
All council meetings, whether it be finance, whether it be budget, whether it be just normal council meetings.
Okay.
Most of the committee meetings are
still zooming.
Still meet in West End. We still meet in Black Diamond Chambers. We never stopped.
Okay.
Truck we still do by Zoom because there's about 1,000 people attend those meetings. But I think our normal day-to-day meetings and budget meetings and council meetings, committee meetings in person.
Okay. Yep. Come on in. Sorry, I said someone at the door. Okay, so that would be for council meetings. Obviously, your committee meetings, you'd still follow the protocol that whatever is the case. So for me, West Winds has been Zooming as much as possible, unless it was executive. Library's pretty much been Zoom all the time. So Hazel would still go Zoom. So your committees would remain the same, but for our council meetings, we would want to go in person, is what this motion is saying. So it doesn't affect that you have to go in person to every meeting, just the council meetings that we have. Lisa, you came on, therefore I would suggest that you have something to add to this conversation. Am I correct?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, going back to in-person meetings, it has to be all in. So because our technology and our bandwidth just cannot handle people coming in from signing in from home and still hosting virtual meetings and being in chambers. So either council has to be there, or they can teleconference, or they have to be virtual. I hate to say that, but our technology, that's all it supports.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dixon, then Councillor Holiday.
So I just wanted to clarify that I definitely will support going back into in-person meetings. I just wanted to put my my comment forward as far as we need to be careful that we don't have to go back again at a later time. So thank you.
Yeah, no doubt. Councillor Holiday, then Councillor Rabb.
Yeah, I think everybody's realized by now that things change, and we may have to change, but so be it. I think budget's the most important thing that we do, so I'd really like to do that in person. I want to clarify, Lisa, what you said. Our teleconferencing, that totally works with recording. That's not a problem, because as long as we have that option, videos, yes, it's nice, but if we have teleconference, that's great for people that aren't comfortable coming in, for delegations and things.
Correct. And Sean and I discussed this at length. Allowing public into the chambers. We can teleconference. We have the teleconference line. It's just putting them through on video conferences. The problem is our bandwidth just does not fully support that at this time.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Councillor.
Sorry, just go
ahead, Rap or Waring. Sorry.
My basic understanding was 7 councillors will be in chambers along with the necessary people from administration, and any interrelationship with the general public will be teleconference, online, whatever. But there won't be any councillors at home joining the meeting. They're either in chambers or they're not at the meeting.
Okay, I got two. I've got a follow-up from Sean. I've got Councillor Rab in the queue, and Lisa wanted to say something. So I'm going to go in the order I got them. I'm going to go with Rob, Sean, Lisa.
First of all, I totally understand Councillor Dixon is concerned that COVID is not over yet. And I'm certainly not arrogant or cocky about it, because I certainly don't want to get this. That being said, I'm going to go to the conference in Edmonton. So I'm driving half a province across and meeting people in restaurants and AUMA conference, etc. So if that's the case, I actually feel pretty comfortable with the 6 of you plus the administration and whoever else comes in. I think probably more comfortable with this group than I would be sitting in AUMA conference, I'm sure, or going to the hotels, etc. So I'm ready to go back in session. That being said, I know meetings are supposed to be public, but we can't open it up to public. That would be, I think that's a stretch too far for me. So somehow we have to keep the public involved, but we can't have them in the conference room if possible, if that's possible. So it must be public. So that's my 2 cents. I'm ready to go back in chambers for these meetings until further notice, such as the last motion, because maybe it'll change again in January. Once budget's out of the way, we can go back to what we're doing today.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rob. Mr. Patience, then Lisa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So one of the challenges we have is, and I don't want to preclude the conversation that's to take place on the bylaw that we have on your agenda this evening. Obviously, we had looked at the option of all virtual or all in person. So I'm sure Lisa's thinking the same thing I'm thinking right at the moment. Lisa, how are we going to manage an in-person council with a virtual public hearing?
Good question.
Well, and through the mayor, councils, I've been doing a lot of research on how our regional neighbors have been conducting their public hearings recently. Foothills, they've been hosting several of them. So of course, that was my first point of contact. If people want to speak, they can register, and we'll give them the teleconference link so that they can sign in and listen or speak. Unfortunately, like I said, we can't do the video part of it. And that goes for council too. If a councillor is unable to make a meeting, but they still want to attend electronically, and that's the province's buzzword, they can still come in on the teleconference end of things. It's just that if we live stream these meetings, we can't have people virtually. Our system just does not have that capacity. However, we do have video, the teleconference rather than the video. My suggestion for the upcoming public hearings, if we can, if it's council's desire, we can have people put in our notice that people register through the office, and we can allow them to speak through the teleconference venue.
Quick question. Councillor Gordon, actually, first, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with Lisa there. I know the different councillors that I have committees on from the county, they do not have the good reception that we do here in town. And so they've made it work. And I think that's a great option that we can have, is they'll be live streamed, they register, they have access to the teleconference line, they call in, and boom, we give them an opportunity to speak. I think Mayor Crane will do a great job of chairing that to make sure that the flow is good, but they'll be able to see themselves. We'll see them, or we won't see them, but we'll hear them. I think that's a great option. Thanks for looking into that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gordon. Yeah, I think we'll definitely have to do a bit of extra advertising, maybe even some door knocking and dropping off some pamphlets down in certain sections of town to make sure that the people that really want to be heard have definitely been informed that you have an opportunity when the opportunity is available. So, yeah, we'll definitely have to do our work on it. But man on the moon in 100 years, I think we can handle a public engagement. So, that being said, Councillor Waring has made a motion to return to in-person meetings starting December 2nd, which would be our first all-council budget meeting. Councillor Gordon?
Yeah, I think we want to say starting now because we're going to have different meetings potentially at the end of November for our budget meetings.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Good point. Cindy says that is correct. So, okay. Immediate then. We'll put in effective immediate. Waring, friendly amendment, effective immediate.
Absolutely no problem.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So the motion in front of us is to return to in-chamber meetings effective immediately for all of council, not necessarily your committees. Just our council. Okay. Debate has been had. 3, 2, 1. All in favor, hands high. That is unanimous, Miss Brown, so it is carried. Thank you very much. And thank you, council. And thank you, Councillor Waring. Okay. Moving on. Can I get a motion, actually? Thank you, Rab, to accept the CAO's report.
That's what I was going to give you, sir. Thank you.
I was reading that mind of yours, just like, All right. Can I get a motion? Got the motion. Can I get an all in favor, please? And that's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Waring. Okay. Moving on. We have request for decision for bylaw 21-1119 to remove Municipal Reserve designation from Westerly portion of Lot 19M, our plan 9010616. Mr. Patience, why don't you lead us off real fast and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as all of council is well aware, on October 15th, council approved a conditional sales agreement with Far Brewery for a piece of property. And we are required as we have two conditions applied to the municipality under that sales agreement. One is to remove the municipal reserve designation from the westerly 5-acre portion of that parcel and to subdivide that westerly 5-acre portion of that parcel from the main 4-acre parcel. We also have a timeline in which to complete this. This is step 1. This is bylaw 21119, which is put in front of council for consideration of first reading, which is essentially to give first reading to the bylaw, which would remove the municipal reserve designation from that 5-acre portion of that property, and further to direct administration to schedule a public hearing on the 6th of December for that municipal reserve designation removal from that 5-acre portion of that property, being on the corner of Main Street and DeKalta.
Correct. Councillor Gordon, sorry.
Yeah, this has been on our docket for a little while, and thank you so much, administration, for meeting one of the conditions, at least getting it into motion. So that said, I want to give us the motion here of option 1, that council give first reading bylaw number 21-1119 to remove the municipal reserve designation from the lands described as the westerly portion of lot 19 municipal reserve, plan 9010616, being the proposed subdivided lot 1, block 3, containing 2.02 hectares, which works out to about 5 acres, more or less, as shown in Schedule A attached here too, and for council then to direct administration to schedule a public hearing for bylaw number 1119 on December 6, 2021, in accordance with sections 230 and 606 of the Municipal Government Act.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. And would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, sure would. And I really appreciate the work that administration has done and the diligence that you put forward, working together with Yoke and Far of Far Brewery. Thank you so much as well for getting this first step done and removing one of our conditions and getting this land, removing that designation. So I fully support this. And one of the key elements of economic development is business retention and expansion, and setting forward the one of the strategic priorities we had from last year was to make sure that we were open for business, removing red tape where it needed to be. So I really want to thank administration for your being proactive in getting this done in a very timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Any other comments from council on the motion made? So for Hazel and Curtis, this obviously falls from the old council special meeting we held where we were making this decision for Far Brewery and land sales, which is a revenue stream for the town. So any questions from you guys specific? And then I'm going to go to Holiday in case you had anything you wanted to clarify. Councillor Martin and then Councillor Dixon.
Thank you very much, Mayor Crane. So the 4 remaining acres out of the parcel, that will stay as municipal reserve, and will that still encompass that parking lot so people will be able to access Toboggan Hill?
Mr. Patience? Answers
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, and Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, it's just a procedure question. This still will need to go through public scrutiny, correct? Before this will become anything official, correct?
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Yes, if I might, Mr. Mayor, and I want to be very clear on this, Councillor Dixon. There are a number of processes involved in this particular transaction. This municipal reserve designation removal does require a public hearing. However, I do want to point out that the public hearing is not on the development. The public hearing will be solely based on the municipal reserve designation removal from the property. So I want to be very clear on that. For any of the public that's watching, that may be supportive of the project, may have questions or concerns about the project. This is simply the removal of the municipal reserve designation on a piece of municipal property. The subdivision will also be simply a subdivision of a piece of municipal property. As we move forward, and should these steps be successful, the proponent is further required to apply for a municipal development plan amendment and a land use bylaw amendment to rezone the property. So I want to make it very clear to all of council and to the public that the public hearing, should council approve first reading of the bylaw in front of you, is simply to remove the municipal reserve designation. It is not a question about approving the development itself.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Yes, thank you for the clarification, because I was going to ask you to be very clear about that. So it's perfect timing. Councillor Holiday, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Sean if he could review, like, for Councillors Dixon and Martin, about what the advertising requirements our public hearing advertising requirements, if you want to explain that for everyone.
So so we're required, we have requirements through the MGA, but council has passed an advertising bylaw, which the MGA allows to supersede their requirements for advertising. So we are required to post into the Okotoks Western Wheel the ad, which we would put forward this week. So it would show up in next Wednesday's newspaper. It will also be directing any of those readers to our website where they can find a complete version of the bylaw, as well as there will be copies of the bylaw available in our municipal office.
Perfect. Thank you. And great question, Councillor Holiday. Okay. Any further comments? Seeing none, we have a motion in front of us from Councillor Gordon to approve first option 1 as he read it out. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, let me just scroll up here. Old business, we have none. New business, we have a notice of motion from Councillor Jonathan Gordon to consider requesting to appoint a public member at large to the Dare Works Foothill Society. That was from last meeting, was it not, Councillor Gordon? Or is that for this one?
I don't have that in my agenda. I have the notice of motion for the diverse housing strategy, but I don't have that.
Well, I've got a 13.1 and a 13.2. Anybody else got that?
You did actually mention this at the last meeting that you wanted to bring that forward. It was a verbal request.
That's correct.
Yeah. And we were going to have a conversation on it tonight.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see that in my agenda.
Yeah, it wasn't in my first one, but it was in my second one. So
I certainly remember there was a short discussion about it and you wanted it to come forward that we would make that appointment.
No, you're absolutely right, Councillor Waring. I do remember that. I just don't see it in the agenda. Sorry, that's my bad.
no, that's all good. So that being said, we did want to have a conversation around appointing a public member at large to the Dare Works Foothill Society. I was approached by Peace Officer Jim Berry today, actually. He has gone ahead and done the DARE program with the Turner Valley students and the CA McLaren students, the elementary schools in Black Diamond and Turner Valley, and has invited me to the certificate graduation next Friday, which I'll attend on behalf of the town of Turner Valley as mayor. But I find great value in this DARE program. No matter what it is, I think education at any level is important, especially when it comes to drugs, alcohol, and the abuses that can stem from it. And of course, vaping being one of the more highly addictive substances for teenagers now. I think it's more important that we get the message out there. So I'd certainly support finding and advertising for a member at large. For this notice of motion put forward by Councillor Gordon. And with that being said, Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, I think obviously this is a volunteer position and it's going to take some time within our community, but I'm pretty confident that there's members of our community who would appreciate this opportunity to work with the team to present in our schools the information that is needed for them, any education and the supports that are needed for an anti-drug movement of some sort. That education is so vital. So that's why I wanted us to discuss it. And I agree with Mayor Crane that anything we can do as a council to encourage our community to get involved. There's numerous people I've spoken with who really appreciated this at when they were in school, and being made aware at a younger age and how vital that is. So I would be very surprised if there were not members in our community who would want to step forward. So if we could consider a motion then to direct administration to include the DARE committee as a board member, as a member at large, with the different adverts we have out already, with the numerous committees that are missing, or there's gaps there, right? So I would like us to see this move forward. So before I present it as a motion, I'd like to hear the rest of the councillors.
Okay, Councillor Waring.
This is a notice of motion which we shouldn't be discussing, but should go as a notice purely, and it goes to the next meeting for discussion on the motion.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't realize it was just a notice. My bad.
Yeah, I thought we were going to bump ahead because we talked about it at the last one. So I guess my
Well,
bad.
you can check with Lisa what the protocol is, whether we can do that or not. But normally you don't debate a notice.
It does say no motion. I'll go to Holiday. She has the final say.
He gave the notice at last meeting, and so this would be now that where we're discussing it. So we're not asking for a counselor to be on the DARE works and using per diems. We're just asking for administration to use town resources to advertise on behalf of the DARE organization for a member at large to be on this committee. I think that's a worthwhile thing, and it's not a big ask, so I have no problems with it if I understand it correctly. As long as that's what they're wanting, that they're wanting us to do this, that seems like an easy thing for us to offer.
Yeah, no, you read it the way I thought it.
That's exactly how I read it.
I read it as notice of motion, so
3-1 Democratic.
no, read it. It says notice of motion. It doesn't say 3-1.
Go ahead, Cindy.
You know, just
if we go ahead with it, it's just pointing it out.
This is just a logistical comment. Oh, so if there's an item in the agenda that doesn't have a sheet of paper, like an attachment that goes with it, it has gotten missed in the past as well as in this situation. So I don't know if there's a way that in our software that we can highlight it, that there's no attachment, or so that people know that there's still an agenda item there, but it doesn't have anything attached to it. Because so often I'm guilty of that too as a counselor. I just go straight to all the attachments and I don't look at the agenda. So
yeah, right on. We'll go to Rob, then Hazel.
I kind of thought it was a notice of motion last time, so I'd be prepared to support Councillor Gordon's motion to have admin advertise it. If it's not asking about any of us, so we were aware of it last meeting, so I'm good to go.
Okay, Councillor Martin.
I just went and pulled up their letter.
Oh yeah.
And it just says, once again this year, we invite the town of Turner Valley to appoint a representative to sit on our board. We find it very helpful when our stakeholders are able to provide input to our operation. So is that asking for a member of council to sit on there?
Well, a member of council or a member at large, because we can appoint a member at large. Is that right, Sean? Would that be correct? We could do it either way?
You could, Mr. Mayor, if I might. I believe Lisa actually reviewed the video on this particular topic, so I might have her weigh in on this, and there was no background information to provide, so that's why you have no attachment. Lisa?
Sorry, Council. Yeah, I had questioned that as well, and my apologies to Council for the misunderstanding. When I reviewed the video, Councillor Gordon had said that he was going to be putting a notice of motion forward at this meeting. It wasn't at the last meeting. And I wanted to get clarity for that. That's why I went back to our recording just to check, and that's why it's on your agenda as this.
So you're saying that Councillor Waring gets to say, I told you so.
So based on our council procedure bylaw, we could ask that the notice be waived so that we can move forward and get this off the docket, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, but everybody has to vote in favor. I'm not going to.
So if you want to be like that, Mr. Littlepudlian, I fully expect you of that.
Oh, too good. Okay. In all seriousness, though, Waring, would you be cool going ahead with this one tonight?
Certainly.
Okay. All right. So thank you also, Hazel, for pulling up that letter because that's how I remembered it. Council or CAO Patience, go ahead.
And I know that Lisa, when we discussed this, she She had pulled the video. I didn't look at it. She had pulled it, and I take her at her word. And I don't necessarily agree with or disagree with Councillor Martin. I thought the leaning was probably more towards a council member on the group as opposed to a public member.
Yeah.
But I leave that to council's discretion. And interesting conversation, I must say. And yes, you would need unanimous consent to discuss the notice at tonight's meeting.
Yeah. So I think we can go ahead. I'm quite fine with that. Cindy?
I think if they're wanting a counselor specifically, then we would need to know the time commitment and how much it would cost it budget wise, and if we're actually interested in attending a bunch of meetings, because I would be in favor of helping them find somebody from the public, but spending per diem dollars on a relatively small budget item doesn't make much sense if it's a lot of meetings. So probably best to go back for more information if that is the case, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay. I can kind of agree with that in terms of we need to know what the commitment level is. We're going to go to Councillor Gordon. You're muted there, bud.
I understand that the letter speaks to having a somebody appointed. It doesn't specify council or member at large. My goal is to actually have a member at large do this, because my feeling on this one is that it should be community led and not council driven, especially something like this of its nature to combat the drug use among our elementary students. I would find it much more beneficial to have a member at large to be involved in this. And that's where I would focus my motion on that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dixon?
Yeah, I'm thinking we need a little bit more clarity on this before we can vote on a motion. I don't mean to stall anything really, but it seems to me that there's a question around what exactly they're asking for. So I'm wondering if we can send it back for just a little bit more clarity before we actually vote on any kind of a motion.
Okay, thank you. And that is exactly what I told you way back, was ask the questions. Because if you have any doubts, that is exactly what we're supposed to do. Try and find more information, bring it back so we're clear on what we're deciding, and then we can make an educated debate and decision. So I see some questions around what exactly is the ask. So I think that it's only appropriate we do that. So no motion has been made at this point. So we can get that information and bring it to the next council meeting. And hopefully we direct it in the direction that Councillor Gordon has indicated to the public, to back up exactly what Councillor Holiday said as well. So, okay. So we'll just accept for notice of motion for this meeting, and we'll move on to our next one, and we'll have more information on that at our next meeting. So 13.2, Councillor Gordon, diverse housing strategy. You want to read that one off for us?
Sure. Let's see. I tried to honor the late Councillor Wilkie with getting several whereases, but I couldn't match how many he would bring in. So we have the notice of motion, diverse housing strategy. Whereas the government of Alberta announced a stronger foundations of affordable housing strategy in October 2021, whereas this 10-year strategy plan hopes to increase the provincially funded network by 40%, supporting 25,000 more households, whereas this provincial plan hopes to create innovative and collaborative partnerships with governments, organizations, and communities, and enabling more non-government investment, whereas this strategy focuses on an income threshold which may not meet the needs of our community as a whole, whereas the focus on affordable housing tied to income relies on an unstable premise. What is affordable today may not be affordable tomorrow. Furthermore, reliance on provincial and federal funding creates management concerns in the future, even as we have seen recent decreases in critical funding sources, whereas a diverse housing strategy will create housing options for our seniors to either age in place, for families to enter the housing marketplace, and for our lower income households to thrive in our community. Therefore, be it resolved that Council directs administration to apply as soon as practicable to be part of the Government of Alberta's Stronger Foundation strategy per the stated intent of creating partnerships. Also, Council directs administration to consider a diverse housing strategy that will allow Turner Valley to lead in options which meets the needs of our community as a whole. The strategy may include the following: public engagement to learn the needs and desires of our community, public engagement with stakeholders such as investors, developers, and realtors as needed, a review of the municipal development plan to rezone available lands, the elimination of red tape if present in our MDP and LUB to allow for diverse housing, collaboration with our regional partnerships to explore partnership opportunities. As I mentioned, this notice of motion is presented here at this current council meeting, November 15th of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. And that was a plethora of whereases. I think you did a great job in contending with Councillor Wilkie, although we'll still call him the reigning champ for now. Okay, so that one is doesn't need to be voted on. That'll come back to our next available meeting. Now that will be a question of clarity. Would 2 weeks be enough time for that background work, Mr. Patience? Or is this opening salvo more around the conversation itself?
Well,
I guess Councillor Gordon. Well, okay, sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, if I might, we actually have 3 weeks to our next meeting. But as you well know, the next week is lost.
Budget.
Well, we're at AUMA till Monday, so it's a fairly substantial notice of motion. I might suggest that's probably going to take some background work on our part, but certainly council is well within their rights and capabilities to pass the notice of motion and direct administration in that fashion, and let us take it from there.
Yeah, I'm just thinking timeline. So I'm going to go to Councillor Gordon and ask, is January good? I'd like to get through budget, and then we can start delving into this, along with a little bit of strategic planning talk that we need to cover off with Councillor Martin and Dixon as well. I think we need to cover that. So this is right in line with that strategic planning meeting that we want to hit in January. What do you think?
Yeah, being a notice of motion, I'm not expecting us to put it off too long, just because we'll need to discuss it in its detail. And then out of that discussion on the motion, we can probably come up with several different elements that are attached or are in line with the strategic planning, looking at the budgeting as well, and certain ramifications that could be there. So I would have to really rely on administration, because as you mentioned, Mayor Crane, there's so many different elements tied to a housing strategy. And so there's budgetary considerations to consider. There's administration time to consider. So I'm not quite certain when is the best time for us to discuss this as a council. Is it January? Is it December? I would have to really rely on administration's direction there.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Patience or Mrs. Brown, either or. Just in terms of the content, I mean, housing strategies, affordable housing, government partnerships, it's a lot. I know it's a lot because I'm on West Winds, and I know that they're going to be a great avenue of information for you, as well as their strategic plan, what they've already got in the works, where we fit into that. So there's some good conversations to be had. Really, like there's some good depth to this, and I don't want it to be a quick once over, but I don't want to miss it necessarily if we did want to add something to budget. But I'm thinking January, to be totally honest, because there is a lot to this conversation. So if you guys,
if I might, Mr. Mayor, and this might help you a little. Really, what this is doing is giving administration direction to start down this path. Really, it's not directing any timelines or deadlines for commitments. I also believe this might be a conversation you might want to share with your counterparts in Black Diamond around the JFAC table, considering any significant investment in the municipality certainly should be considered on based on a potential amalgamation in the near future as well, because these
Yes.
these projects are multi-year in terms of getting them laid out, developed, funded, and completed. So I would throw that out for consideration. But this is really, this is a directional motion. It's really just setting the path forward, and you might want to have Westwinds even come have that conversation with council just to so everyone's on the same page.
As a quick follow-up, if I may, Mayor, I did
Absolutely.
have a Black Diamond councillor reach out to me and ask if we were going to be having a conversation with them around JFAC because they saw this notice of motion. And I said, more than likely, I'm pretty positive it will be a regional partnership that has to be considered here. So this, on purpose, I made this motion as broad as can be because it kind of gives us an idea of what's required. This is a lot of work. And if we're going to be thinking outside the box and staying ahead of the curve, we got to start somewhere.
Excellent. Well, I'm perfectly fine bringing it forward, and administration, you're going to get the information as you glean it. I think bringing Westwinds in for conversation is definitely on board, as well as the JFAC. Now, December 9th might be a little early. But if we're broaching the subject, it might be a great time to just broach the subject as a group to say, where do we want to see ourselves in 10 years? Because if we want to see ourselves in 10 years with something, you got to start now. Councillor Rob.
Yeah, if memory serves you right, we had this discussion about 2 years ago at council, and I believe Westwinds may have been involved at that time. And as a Lions member, we have a parcel of land near the church on the north side of the town, and we also would like to see that developed into some kind of senior residence. But after some exploration, we realize it's a multi-million-dollar investment, so it's not something you're going to look into in the next 2 weeks. And even at JFAC, and unless we're prepared to spend money on senior housing, then that's what we're left with. So I'm fine with a notice of motion. I'm fine to continue to explore it. Perhaps there are grants out. Perhaps we can get in on the ground floor because of this announcement. So I'm totally supportive of your notice of motion, Councillor Gordon, but realizing that it's not going to be a quick fix, so to speak, and there's no sense of having any quick response by the December meeting, I don't believe, because there'll be lots more to do than that, in my opinion.
Yep. Good point. Councillor Waring, and then Councillor Martin.
I'm supportive of the notice of motion going forward to the next meeting to be read as a motion. And then this discussion we're having now that we shouldn't be having, we can have at the next meeting. So we shouldn't be having this debate, as I mentioned previously.
Why didn't you say that earlier and stop me? Okay. With that being said, again, I'm going to bow and I'm going to say Councillor Waring is correct again. We'll take this notice of motion forward and we're good to go. We'll look forward to having a discussion at the next meeting regarding the 13.2. We don't need to vote. General correspondence, we have none. Thank you, Waring. And thank you, Councillor Gordon. 15.1, correspondence action considered. Foothills Lions Club letter RE, the outdoor rink maintenance in Black Diamond. You have before you a letter sent on behalf of the Foothills Lions Club. Forgive the font differential. One of the members copy and pasted a section and didn't shrink it down. That's why you see that inconsistency. I'm going to let Mr. Patience speak to this, and then Waring, I'm going to let you go at her. Okay, Mr. Patience.
I do appreciate the fact that you like hearing my voice, Mayor Crane. I don't really have too much to say to this. Honestly, this is really, something I'd talk over with my public works staff should council want to move forward with it. Short of that, knock yourselves out.
Okay, perfect. All right, Councillor Waring, go ahead.
I'm a little bit confused why we would supply a Zamboni to work in Black Diamond, which is at least 3 miles away, when Black Diamond have a Zamboni about 150 meters away.
Because their Zamboni can't drive down the road the way our utility Zamboni can. They have professional ice rink Zambonis that come out from flat surfaces onto flat surfaces and back into flat surfaces.
But what do they usually, the small outdoor rink?
Same one.
Okay, so it's like the one we see when we're watching the Oilers beat the Flames.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not good for dirt roads. Councillor Gordon, and then Councillor Martin.
That's the only thing I just couldn't understand why you needed ours when they're next.
Yeah, I'll speak to this whole thing as I'm part of the initiative. I'll put on my Lions hat. Councillor Gordon, you have the floor.
Yeah, I think before I can direct administration to have our public works supply this, I'd really like to know what it's going to do to the asset management of that item. Those aren't necessarily designed to be transported to that degree up and down the road. So I would really like to know what that's going to do to the asset management of that item.
Okay, Councillor Martin, then Councillor Dixon.
I really support this this initiative by the Foothills Lions Club to be going ahead with their Christmas, their lights in the park, and I think it's a great community builder, and to have the town of Turner Valley involved in looking at helping them with looking after the rink.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, I support this as well, but I'm just curious if there's any sort of a cost breakdown associated with this, or what would the fuel cost be associated with taking the Zamboni from here to Black Diamond, so on and so forth, maintenance, those kinds of things. I just wonder if that's a consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Robb.
I should preface by saying I'm a Lions member, and I think that that's a great project that's going on in Black Diamond in the park. I think it'd be awesome. That said, I like Councillor Waring. Why would you want to take a Zamboni 3 miles across, state lines, so to speak, to flood the ice in Black Diamond when they have Zambonis there? And yes, flat surface to flat surface, but they got to go about a block. I don't know what we do with ours. Run it down the Friendship Trail. What are we going to do? Run it down the highway, load it up? I mean, all those cost money. So before I would even be prepared to talk about this, I would like administration to have a run at it and say what it's going to cost, and what, Councillor Gordon mentions the asset itself. Well, we're going to do any damage to the asset, etc. So I think we're kind of premature making any decisions tonight, and I'd like to shut down discussion like Waring did in the last one.
Mr. Patience, go ahead.
If it would help council, I'd be happy to speak to Mr. Beaton upon his return and have him provide a synopsis for council at your next meeting in regards to this task. That'd be reasonable? Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, as you can see, I've put on my Lions vest. I'm now going to speak to the project from the Lions Club perspective. Foothills Lions Club, of course, as you've read in the letter, is one of our main volunteer organizations throughout the Foothills region. Our main focus area is Black Diamond and Turner Valley, and we have done countless thousands of hours of volunteerism throughout both. As Hazel well knows, we barbecue at every event that she's ever put on, and we just love doing it. It's a passion for our volunteers to do service to the community. This particular project we thought of last year as a great way to get COVID kind of out of the dust and shake off a bit of the angst that was hanging around arenas. Really give families an ability to get outside, space out. We've got 8 fire pits placed over at the campground and 2 cords of wood for free placed at each one of the campsites. We've spaced out all the picnic tables so you can have family settings. We've built a rink that is 40 by 160 in length. And we have asked Black Diamond with the same letter we've asked Black Diamond Council to provide the fire truck for flooding of the ice and to include in their street maintenance throughout the winter the road clearing of snow from the 3rd Ave, I believe it's 3rd Ave, into the campground and across the 13 parking lots. So we've asked Black Diamond's Council through the same letter to contribute manpower from their public works to clear snow and flood the rink. It is then, because the Lions Club is across all borders, our ask was to Turner Valley to supply the Zamboni. And the reason why is because we know that the Zamboni here in Turner Valley is an attachment that goes onto the Toolcat, which is very versatile, which is why it was purchased in the first place. And to drive it down Friendship Trail is not a large problem for that type of equipment. That being said, I hear Mr. Patience can definitely find out from his public works manager just what kind of details and structural needs would be required. And that's totally fine. The reason we wanted that is because of the versatility to get into the campground, and the rink itself is going to have rounded corners when we're finished. We're going to be building that in a week, but it would not be something that we would want to see, a 3,000-pound Zamboni coming out of the rink in Black Diamond and down the hill on icy roads to do. So it's not meant that way. The Turner Valley Zamboni is meant for the outdoor rink in Turner Valley, and thus an outdoor rink in Black Diamond, it would serve the same purpose. So that's the idea, is to get both town councils working together for a community project. And of course, we've put up approximately 40 sets of lights on 40 different trees. And we're going to continue to solicit people's leftover Christmas lights every year. And hopefully we'll have something like zoo lights in a few years where the whole place is lit up, and it'll just be a beautiful area for winter activities for families to just come skate, have some s'mores around the fire, and enjoy the Christmas lights for the season. So that's the idea behind the Foothills Initiative for the rink and Light Up the Campground project. So any help that your council or town administration can do would be greatly appreciated on behalf of the Foothills Lions Club. Go ahead, Councillor Martin.
I just have a comment. Could this initiative be supported through the community support grant? When there is talking about costs for fuel and such?
Our community support grant is good for $500. So certainly that could go towards something. Whether or not council would just cover it in a budget line item or take it out of that would be the question there, I think. I wouldn't be too concerned about putting it on as a budget item if Craig comes back with a certain volume of this is how much we think we can spend on this particular item, then that would be apt. So, Councillor Gordon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just as a quick follow-up, I'd like to see it as a budget item, part of our public works, part of our parks and recreation, to do it as a joint opportunity. So I look forward to what Mr. Beaton brings back for us to have a realistic number crunching time on that. But I think it's something that we can look ahead. Honestly, I grew up Northwest Calgary. I take the bus, sometimes partner up with a bunch of friends, go down to Boness Park, skate on the Boness Lagoon and in the different pathways there with the fire pits. And it's a great opportunity. I just have to support fellow councillors, get the number.
Excellent. Okay, can I get a motion with a little action considered? Councillor Waring?
Yeah, I'll give you a motion that directs administration to come back to council not too late, because it's going to start freezing up soon, so you'll need to get moving on the ice right away, basically, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So Well, when is Craig back? Is he back for the 6th? Or?
Yeah, he is back next week.
Okay, so we could make the decision on the 6th. Is that okay?
Yep.
I'm in favour of doing it anyway. Just was being a bit of an ass about the. I think the more we can do together and support the both communities at the same time, in view of amalgamation and everything else, the better.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so motion, Councillor Waring, to support the letter, basically get the information brought back at next meeting for making a decision.
Yeah, which will be yes.
Excellent. I should mention, well, that'll be something that we can talk about next meeting too. Okay, nope, that's good. The letter says it all. Motion to support from Councillor Waring for more information leading to the next meeting. Any other questions? I think we all know where we're at here.
Just
all in favor?
Sorry.
Yep. Okay, you can do a follow-up ask, Dixon. Go
Just
ahead.
a follow-up question, just if we could include the costs associated with that.
Oh, that'll be in there for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, they'll include that. Thank you. Okay, perfect. That being said, I think, let me just scroll. I'm going to take the correspondence, none.
There were minutes from the PRAC meeting, but for some reason they didn't come on the agenda.
And I've got a plethora.
Evening.
We'll get them at the next one. I've got a plethora of West Winds ones as well that need to come in. Okay. In that case, guys, number 17 adjourned. We are good. So thank you very much, everybody. That was a good meeting. As you all know, we have AUMA starting tomorrow. For those of you, Curtis and Hazel, are you guys on the same flight time-wise? Mary Ellen, you can turn off the recording as well. We're done. So we're just going to finish up a little light conversation here.